regional public consultation on its draft determination for the electricity transmission and distribution sector of Trinidad and Tobago 2023 to 2027. My name is Trisel Ramjan. I'm the Corporate Communications Manager at the RIC and your co-host for this afternoon's consultation session. My co-host is standing right next to me today. His name is Mr. Jason George from Pulse 89.5 FM. The RIC is an independent statutory body established on June 1st, 2000 to regulate the electricity and water sectors in Trinidad and Tobago. The RIC is mandated, among other things, to set price limits to enable service providers to finance the delivery of services in line with established standards and requirements, to also provide incentives for service providers to improve their efficiency and service delivery, and to protect the interest of all consumers. The RIC has a statutory mandate to consult with all interested stakeholders in the performance of its functions. Consultation is a legal requirement under the RIC Act number 26 of 1998, section 6.2, and is also a critical component of effective regulation. Consultation usually enables the best possible regulatory outcomes, and the RIC will work towards ensuring that all stakeholders are afforded the opportunity to express their views and that adequate and accurate information is shared between stakeholders and the RIC. I would also like to point out today that we have two stations at the back of the room. One is a bill calculation station for residential and commercial customers, just so you can have an idea of what the new proposed rates, what your bill could possibly look like. Now, this is just an average with the rates of what your consumption and the cost could look like. We also have a conservation station, which will demonstrate to you some energy conservation and energy efficiency devices, how to use them in your home to save electricity. I would now like to invite our chairman, Mrs. Dawn Callender, to deliver some welcome remarks. Mrs. Callender.
Good afternoon, fellow citizens of Tobago West, attending at Bon Accord Canal Multipurpose Facility. Thank you and welcome to this. Thank you for attending and welcome to this session, where we will be taking the opportunity to fulfill our mandate of holding public consultations on the draft determination. These consultations are quite important because what we have circulated so far is a draft determination. It is by no means the final determination, and we look forward to these meetings. We look forward to your comments so that we can move from the draft to the final. This meeting is the first of two in Tobago, and tomorrow we will be heading to Tobago West. To Tobago East, my apologies. Next week, and towards the end of the month, we will start with meetings in Chaguanas. We'll also have meetings in Port of Spain, Diego Martin, and we will also have a meeting in San Fernando. So those are also to be put on a person's agendas and so on, and their schedules, so that they can also follow us and attend there. So I urge you to keep looking at our social media pages and also in the newspapers, and you will see the dates and the locations of those particular sessions. We will continue these meetings with our key stakeholders, and our key stakeholders, we consider them to be business chambers, special interest groups, community groups, and of course these public consultations. The public consultations are actually designed and intended to provide a platform for citizens who don't have any other outlets, be those outlets Parliament, be they a political party who can call a press conference. So we know that those persons already have outlets and means of getting their thoughts, their voices out. And these are in fact designed to have other citizens and to meet other consumers. So we will continue to have these across the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. It is a 12-week consultation period. This is the 3rd week, so we do have 9 more weeks to go. If you are unable to attend immediately, there are others that we will be putting out later. So let me share with you the purpose of the consultation, and you will hear this again throughout the course of this evening into the afternoon. We've put out a draft, and we think that we have taken a lot of things into consideration. But of course, we know that there are other views out there, and we know that there are maybe some aspects that we may have forgotten. And so we look forward to your participation. We look forward to your candid feedback. We look forward to you asking for clarification to trigger another thought for us into something that we may have forgotten. And we can then move from where we are to coming up with the final determination. Our draft determination is available on our website. It is a long form document that is about 300 pages. There's also a short form document, and that's 45 pages. If you do have the time and you are able to, you can at least look at the 45-page document and send back your comments. Could be in written form. It could also be when you attend another session. We really are very interested in hearing from you. You would have heard also that we've set up 2 stations at the back of the room. We have a bill calculator, and I really have been urging persons to come with their bills so that you can see how the proposed rates would affect you and your particular household. I know we have given a range of possible increases, and without information, persons may feel concerned, maybe a bit of fear, that you may end up on the higher end of the scale. In fact, most persons are not going to end up on that part of the scale. In terms of the residential customers, I think it may be something like 15% or so who will get into that very high band. So please take the opportunity to have your bill recomputed so that you can get an idea of what you are likely to face. So I look forward to very vibrant discussions, respectful but vibrant discussions. And before I close, I want to take the opportunity to introduce Mr. Selcrest's husband, the power engineer that you heard about. He is here to answer some of the more technical questions that we have faced in our last 2 consultations. And depending on what your question is, he would be quite able to clarify that information for you. So it's now my pleasure to introduce our Executive Director, Mr. Glenn Kahn, who would give you a presentation in terms of the thinking and the considerations we went through in coming up with the draft determination. So let me welcome you again. Thank you for coming, and say that we are all looking forward to a very positive experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to, before I make the presentation, I'm going to refer to a few parts of the Regulated Industries Commission Act, which is the act that we are bound to follow in conducting our affairs. The reason why I'm doing this, some parts of the presentation, specifically the information on it, relate to these things I'm going to talk about. Okay? So the first thing is powers and functions of the Commission. Section 6(1)(c). Ensure as far as is reasonably practicable that the service provider, that means T&TEC, operating under prudent and efficient management, will be able to earn sufficient revenue to finance necessary investment. Now remember that we have to ensure that they earn sufficient revenue to finance necessary investment. The next thing, that's H, establish the principles and methodologies by which service providers determine rates for services. So we are establishing the principles and the methodologies. And the third item, J, carry out periodic reviews of rating regimes. So this is a periodic review. So keep that in mind. Those are three things I want you to remember. That's from section 6. From section 67(3), the Commission shall have regard to the funding and ability of the service provider to perform its functions. The funding and the ability of the service provider to perform its functions. The ability of consumers to pay rates. That refers to affordability. So keep those things in mind when you listen to what I'm going to say. So, the chairman told you what our purpose is here today, so I wouldn't go over that, but you can read it while it's on the board, right? So, this graph here is important based on the first thing that I said, which is our role is to ensure that T&TEC has funds to finance the necessary investment. Now, from this here, you can see that for the last 5 years, T&TEC has been making losses. How are they going to finance this investment? So, our role in trying to provide them with the resources to finance that investment, you remember I said we have to establish principles and methodologies. So this here that you're seeing is the methodology that we use to arrive at the revenue requirement that T&TEC will collect from customers through rates and charges. Okay? Anything that you don't understand about this, you can ask me, but I don't want to delay you with these. So, T&TEC came to the RAC with a request for $29.1 billion over a 5-year period to undertake its operations. Because we at the RAC are concerned about efficient costs, we examine all the costs and determine that in some cases, those were not efficient, and therefore we cut those by the figures that you see there. So you see we cut operating expenditure by 1.5 billion, generation cost by 1.181 million, reduction of fuel cost by 528 million, and depreciation charges by 444 million. So we took those off and we approved provisionally 27.4 billion for 5 years. This is another representation of the same thing, but what it tells you is the areas specifically where cuts were made. So you can take a look at that and see what it is. So, part of the function of the RAC is ensuring that you get high quality service. How do we do this? We did a study and we found out that in some areas of the country, I don't know specifically all the areas, people have been experiencing between 3 and 29 outages per month. Now, anybody can say that is not good. What we have decided is that we are going to hold T&TEC to a standard that you should only experience at least 3, or no more than 3, per month. That's one of the ways that we are protecting your interests. We have also established something called call center metrics. When you call T&TEC, sometimes you might be on the phone, nobody's answering you. You have to hang up. You know, or when you get through, it takes about 5, 10, 15 minutes. So these call center metrics are designed to find out how they are responding to your phone calls. The reason for this is to try to get them to improve on that, so that when you call, you wouldn't have those kinds of problems. We also have something called quality of service standards. Now I've realized that when we talk to people at various places, they have no idea what this is. We have 8 guaranteed standards, and what these say is that if you have a problem in terms of your service and it lasts for more than 10 hours, T&TEC must refund you $60 on your bill. People hardly know about these things. So it would be useful. I think we have some handouts behind where you can see these things. So when you're leaving, make sure and get one. So the standards are there to ensure that when you get bad service, at least you receive some compensation. Okay? So you should think about that. We also have something called codes of practice. It was revised and it was approved in October 2022. What these codes are about is how T&TEC interacts with you as a customer. So if you have a problem and you go to them, there's a specific way that they have to deal with you. If, for instance, you can't pay your bill, and you tell them that, they have to make arrangements with you to ensure that you could pay based on your ability. So all of those things are in the codes of practice. You should acquaint yourself with that. Okay? We are going to ask them to do a customer satisfaction survey in 2025 so that you could, write in your points and say whether you're satisfied or not. And I showed you the quantum of money that we are allowing them to recover. Part of the funds goes into reliability improvements. I mentioned the 3 outages. The reliability improvements are intended to ensure that those are either minimized or removed. And there's going to be 1 free meter check every 4 years now instead of every 5 years, because the meters are coming to the end of their useful life, so they're not functioning as good as before. So we don't want to give them that long period of time. This here is on the left-hand side, you see the existing structure of rates and the existing rates. So now, the first tier is 1 to 400, and for those 400 kilowatt units, you pay 26 cents. The second tier is 401 to 1,000, and you pay 32 cents. And the third tier is over 1,000, you currently pay 37 cents. So if, for instance, your consumption for the month is 1,000, the 2 rates apply to you. If you're over 1,000, the 3 rates apply to you. That's on the existing arrangement. We are proposing a monthly bill, but the monthly bill now has 4 tiers. So we divided the first tier, which is 400, into 2, so you get 1 to 200. We have 200 to 700, 700 to 14, and over 1,400. And the new rates on the left side, and there's an increase in the customer charge, which is moving from $6 bi-monthly to $7.50 per month. What you see here now is a sample bill. So if you are going to use, well, if you are using 200 per month now, for 2 months now, your monthly bill is $65.25. If you use the new rates at the same consumption bi-monthly, that bill will be $79.88. But if you use the new rates monthly, that new bill is $39.94. So for 100 kilowatts per month, that consumption could facilitate things like 1 radio, a refrigerator, 6 bulbs, a fan, a television. You know, those things, 100 per month, can satisfy those types of appliances, okay? This is another example of somebody who's currently using 800 kilowatts bi-monthly. So at the existing rates, you're paying $267.75, right? Now, I want you to know that with this existing rate at $267.75, this is under 300, and anybody who is currently using, has a bill less than 300, benefits from a 35% discount. So in fact, while this should have been your this is not exactly what you're paying less because of that 35% discount, right? So if we use that 800 and we look at the proposed rates would go to $322.88. That is for bi-monthly billing. But if we make it monthly billing, which is $400 per month, the proposed rate is 161.44. It's useful to know that currently about 235,000 residential customers benefit from rebates because their bill is less than $300,000. So when you think that this increase is going to impact you heavily, if the existing arrangements that the government have continue, right, you will still be benefiting from this 35% discount. This is just to give you an idea of the comparison between Trinidad and Tobago and several countries within the Caribbean. What you can see here is that the existing rate, which is just over 4 cents, the only country that has a lower rate is Suriname. What is interesting, though, is that the service in Suriname, as far as we have been told, is very poor. So even though the rate is lower, the service doesn't match that. Okay? So when the proposed rate is considered, you see it goes up to just over 5 cents. And it's still lower than everybody else except Suriname. So really, these rates, the Board of Commissioners of the RIC considered the affordability that I talked about in the Act, what was affordable for our residential customers. And that they mulled over that for about 3 months to come up with what they thought is a reasonable and fair rate, because they wanted to ensure that people could have access and meet the basic needs for electricity. As you move from the smaller point to the higher points, what we're trying to do is to discourage wastage and to encourage conservation. So the lower rates are intended to ensure that you have sufficient energy at affordable rates to meet your needs at home. But when you go above that 700 level, the prices there are intended to encourage you to conserve electricity, not to waste it. So that's how you have to think about it. Rates are designed for 2 things: to ensure people have affordability, but also to discourage wastage. Okay? This here, these are miscellaneous charges. These were last increased in 2006. And in our view, we think that sufficient time has passed that these must now be changed. Because crews go out to do these jobs, and they have to use materials and labor. And, when you add the two together, the prices of those things don't stay constant. So the prices that change here reflect the time period that passed and what we think is a fair price for those services now. Okay? One of the new innovations that we're putting in this rate review is new customers, when they make a deposit to have an account with T&TEC, if they have no problem servicing their bills for 1 year, they will get back deposit. That is only new customers. Existing customers who have a deposit will not get it back. But if you're a new customer and you make a deposit, and after 1 year, you have no problems paying your bill, we are proposing that you get back a deposit. Right? We will discuss this with T&TEC to determine how it works. Now, I've been telling you about the rates and how we think that they're fair and so on. But one of the guidelines that we use, the World Bank has a statistic which says that no one should spend more than 10% of their household income on electricity. When we calculated this, the percentage that the household spend on electricity is about 3.3%. So it's well below what the World Bank thinks is a statistic to measure consumption. So the rates that we have set, we believe that the things that I talked to you about before, ensuring that T&TEC has funds to invest, ensuring that they have funds to fit the operations, ensuring that you can afford electricity, we believe that the rates that we have set fulfill all of those conditions. And therefore, that is why we are here presenting them to you. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Khan, for that presentation. So We have actually now come to our interactive portion of today's proceedings, where we will be fielding questions from our audience members to our head table. And for that session, I'm going to hand you over to our question and answer moderator, Mr. Jason George.
Good evening, everybody. Before we start and get into the meat of things, just have some, we like to call it the teaser, just to let you guys know exactly how much time you have and so forth, okay? Each speaker, you must be registered in order to ask your questions. As well, you will be given 3 minutes. Within that 3 minutes, we will let you know when you reach your 2-minute mark, so we'll tell you you have 1 minute left, okay? In which, when you reach your 3 minutes, we'll let you know that your time is up, right? Which we'll mute the mic for the next person to come. And then we'll facilitate your questions and get your answers and all of that, okay? Nice, let's keep it nice and clean. I am sure everybody here is just waiting to ask those questions, okay? So let's get right into that. So we'll go with your first question. Who put your hands up there? Sir? Stand and go to the mic, please.
Hi, good day, everyone. My name is Pete Gray. I'm a resident of Bonnecourt, Crown Point. I took notice to the chairman. No. You are? Right, you spoke about the reduction of the expenditure, right? I want to know how would this affect the quality of service? And can you give me an example of how it wouldn't?
Yeah, it wouldn't affect the quality of service because we examine the cost not to ensure that you pay for inefficient service. So what you're supposed to be getting with those costs are efficient service. So it is not expected to affect the quality of service. I want to make this point. The rates that we are setting, what you saw on the board, relates only to 2023, right? It's not beyond 2023, it's 2023. But the funds that T&TEC are going to collect are only in 2023. So the money that we are proposing that they collect in 2023 because of the rates are to be used on 2023 expenses. It's not to pay anything before or after. It's a service 2023. So we think that the provisions that we have made are sufficient to ensure that you get quality service in 2023.
Thank you. Next question. Yep. Go ahead, sir.
Top of the afternoon. My name is Curtis Sarri. I am an ex-employee of T&TEC. I worked there for 39 years. Firstly, is the RIC an independent body?
Yes, we addressed that. You would have heard that in the introduction that was done by Ms. Ramjon, where she identified the RIC as an independent body. We began operations in 2000. We're comprised of 7 commissioners, and we have no political affiliation whatsoever.
But because organizations say that they are independent, and at the end of it all, sometimes there is interference. So that's usually I just want to make sure I did hear it. So whatever suggestions or recommendations come out of the consultation and you all want to move forward, I would hope no one is to say, well, we can't go with this, because we the people will be feeling it at the end of the day. So,
okay, so what maybe I should just, as by way of information, state that we probably expect to get many suggestions. However, the suggestions really should relate to the draft determination and certain conditions regarding how the rates were computed. So I know we've had many, many other suggestions and many, many other opinions. It doesn't mean that because someone has an opinion that the rates are going to be changed to reflect that opinion. All right, so we would independently make an evaluation, look at the merit of the argument that is put forward, and then we will make a decision, an independent decision, I can assure you.
Okay, excuse me, sir. You have 1 minute left. Okay? Sorry. Continue. Continue, please.
I agree, that is not fair. Because you see, what you should have said, Mr. Moderator, is that ask all the questions up in front and then they will be answered after.
Okay, no problem. And each participant is allotted 2 questions, okay?
No, well then this is not a consultation. No, this is not a consultation. Because you cannot come here and have a consultation from 5 to 7,
sir,
right? 5 to
sir,
7. Some people now coming home from work.
We need to get, sir, hold on. I know we are a little bit, because we want to get the questions out there, but just please, okay?
So, is this on? Sure, Chair.
All right, thank you. We are open to taking all your questions. However, we want to ensure that we get as many questions as possible. So where we have maybe several questions, we will ask the person, ask a couple of them, give other persons a turn at the mic, and you are free to return.
Okay, well, I will take my leave for the time being. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Vera Melvin. I'm a resident of Milford Court, Bonaccord. My question is, what penalty will the RIC apply to T&TEC if they don't provide a good service?
I mentioned that there are 8 guaranteed standards. So it is only on those 8 standards, if they're not met, that you will have compensation, right? The standards relate to things like your bill. You know, if you get a bill late, it deals with if there's an outage that lasts more than 10 hours, right? T&TEC is supposed to, if they advise you beforehand there's going to be an outage, they're supposed to take 10 hours to see about that. So, no, I'm not finished. No, right. So this is what I'm saying. I don't have the notes here. I was trying to look at it, and I wasn't finding it. Yeah, no problem. No, I have it there. Yeah. So I'm saying there are only 8 standards, except the first one. The next 7, there's automatic payment, so you don't have to do anything. Once there's a problem which T&TEC recognizes they didn't correct within the time frame that they should correct, you will get a rebate of $60 as a residential customer and $600 as a commercial customer. So that's automatic. But the first one is about payments. If you haven't received the payment, then you have to make a claim, and that is the only one that is not automatic. Okay?
I just wanted to mention for our listening and viewing audience, we are streaming live on our YouTube page and on Facebook. And I just want to recognize that we do have some questions coming from persons who are tuning live. And I'd like to pose one to the panel from Mr. Sean Solomon. And his question to the panel is, he has seen on his T&TEC bill a customer charge. Mr. Khan spoke about the customer charge is increasing. He wants to know what is the customer charge and why is there a customer charge?
Yeah, the customer charge is for things like sending you your bill, meter reading, those types of things, that's what the customer charges for. Because people have to work to do that, you know. They have to employ people to put these bills in an envelope to mail it to you and so on. So the customer charges for those types of things.
Yeah, I would just say the customer charge refers to the administrative aspect of getting certain types of services to you, including like your bill, including like the metering and so on. And all of that would be part of not only just the electricity you consume, but making sure the call center, for example. So those aspects of T&TEC's business would be covered by the customer charge.
Thank you. Next question.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrew Baker. I've heard out there that a number of persons have been objecting to the consultations because despite what consultation happened, they're still going to raise the prices. What is your feedback on that?
You know, I like to remind persons that there are two things must happen at the same time. In fact, this morning I was on Radio Tamarin, and our host, DJ Sticks, had a comment that of a similar vein. You know, a sort of concern that the service, people may not be happy with the service and that prices will increase in any event. And I would say that several things must happen at the same time. We know that we are seeing certain cracks, as I call it, in T&TEC service, and there is an expectation of good service. You know, our consumers want good service. Given the last price increase was 11 years ago, T&TEC is not really able to deliver the same level of service because in that 11 years, the equipment would have deteriorated a bit, prices have gotten a little bit higher, as the case might be. T&TEC will not be able to deliver the same service or the service that our consumers expect and deserve unless the rates increase. In coming up to the rates increases, what we have done is that we have considered many, many factors. I know that, you know, we've just come off of a pandemic. People have that concern. There's increased cost of living. There's the war in Ukraine. Seems far from us, but it is affecting us. When we did the computation, the first version, I mean, if we use that, there would be even more uproar because those numbers were extremely high. And what we did is that taking those things into account, we did a lot of evaluation, we did a lot of manipulation to come to a rate that we think would be more acceptable at this point in time because we know we want to improve the service. At the end of this consultation, I am very hopeful that as we go up and down, that we will have sufficient input that we can go and reconsider. And I can really say that without giving away anything, there are some arguments that I've heard already that I've taken note of and say, you know, we need to look at this item here again, and we need to see if we've done the best in particular situations. So I assure you that your comments are valued, they are being taken into account, and when you look between the draft and the final, you should see things changing and, you know, some changes reflected there.
Next question. Go ahead, ma'am. Sir, please sit. The lady was there before you.
Good afternoon, honorable members on the head table. And I am here this evening, I'm kind of puzzled. Because I come to consultation and talk meetings here already. And I have never given 3 minutes. I sit home and I sat home and I write down my points to come and elaborate on. And now I am given 3 minutes? That is not fair. And see that Jason is a man from right around here of the community. He should know better. He should know better. Right? He's a Tobago boy. When I think about this, when I think about raising electricity, I'm going to read as fast and try to get me. I
DJ on the beat.
Good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon to the panel. Lyndon Mack from this area. I have one question for the panel, and then I have literally one concern. My question to the panel is, has the Commission made the final decision on the rates applied?
I thought we answered that earlier. We are saying
Sorry,
that
I was a
draft.
bit late, forgive me, so this is the reason why I'm asking.
No, we're saying that in order to give persons something to talk to and to get an understanding as to what we have considered, we have a document that is a draft document at this time. Following the consultations, following getting feedback, comments, and the clarifications, we will move from where we are to the final determination. Okay, so they're not set in stone by any means. Yes, proposals. They're not set in stone.
So I understand that it's a proposal process, and I think it's fair to say thank you for the proposal. However, at this point in time, what you are hearing here from residents are the belief that you have already made a final determination. See, in Trinidad and Tobago, we do things very backward. You come to residents for the very first time. I'm a resident, I've been living here 30 years. This is the very first time I'm ever hearing of your commission exists. Because residents in Tobago don't know about you. We have never, ever heard about you. This is not the first or the second or the third time. We have residents in Tobago here apart from billing issues, have problems with land issues, with poles being placed onto their lands. These are the things I see on social media every single day as a resident. I have business people complaining about you based on your inefficient methods. So my issue is not really about the consultation. My concern is the process when you say to residents, consult, but you have already put into place. And then you come to the residents as a fast to say, we are consulting you. The purpose of this exercise is that before you make a determination, you hear the feedback from every resident. This is not even 1% of the residents for Bonaccord and Keenan, much less Tobago West.
You have 30 seconds of question.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you. So even if a determination is supposed to be made, the question really is supposed to be, how many residents have you actively consulted, invited into these conversations before you have made a final determination to your rates?
Thank you very much, sir.
I want to tell you, sir, that before COVID hit, our customer service people used to come to Tobago very regularly to listen to people's complaints. So when you say that you never heard of us, I can't say why. No. You said you never heard of us before today.
Of course.
But I'm saying that they always used to come to Tobago to talk to customers.
See, this is the problem. We're not supposed to be having people from Trinidad coming to Tobago to see about Tobago's issues. This is Trinidad and Tobago. There are supposed to be people in Tobago from your commission who represents the interests of people here. So this is a backward process.
Well, I am very proud to say that right next to you we have a member of Tobago
just behind you
community who is a member of our commission and who represents Tobago exceptionally well and whose input we value.
I recommend further marketing be done about your commission as a proposal, because I can say to you as a resident, persons do not know of your commission.
But as I told you, that is sometimes what people don't know is because they are not informing themselves, you know. Because we have advertised this on radio and on the newspapers over the weekend. It is in the Tobago newspapers today.
Thank you. At this time, we'll take our next question. Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Please state your name and where you're from.
My name is Tracy Shields. I am from Scarborough at this point in time. My comments and questions really have nothing to do with billing, but has to do with service. That has to do with NGC, the debt to NGC, the debt of the government to T&TEC, and also the industrial relations practices that T&TEC would have, and the outages, the myriad of outages that we experience in rural Trinidad and Tobago, especially Tobago. Yeah, that constantly happens because this island went down twice around the Christmas period. The island went down. One was supposedly for a kite tail, and the other one was supposedly for a communication issue that we had to get crews from Trinidad to come to deal with in Tobago. And I think that is poor. We have to improve our service in that way. For clarity, I am an employee of T&TEC. And I add the industrial relations part in it because in your document, it spoke to NGC's debt and it spoke to operation costs going forward, but I saw nothing about the industrial relations aspect of it because we constantly have expired agreements and the negotiations, let us put the money part aside. Let us talk about it from an operation aspect. When we have expired collective agreements, what happens is that the grievance process starts from the first part. And these gentlemen who, at my left here, the managers at T&TEC, in the areas, tend to stymie the process, so it goes straight, so it doesn't go straight to court. It takes time to go to court. Taking time to go to court means that there are significant amount of man hours being lost because we have to have representatives. Yes, no problem. We are representatives having to go and spend time when they're supposed to be working, when they should be working. So all of that must be taken into consideration. We're not talking about percentage pay and them kind of thing because we can't afford that at this point in time. This point in time, I believe, just like everybody else, it is not the right time for a rate increase. I have more to say, but I only have a few seconds. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Randall Fields. I am a resident of Tobago too. Some of you all may not have known that. And if I must say in the first 30 seconds is, I find the Tobago consultation, I've been to the first one in Trinidad, and I'm pretty sure the head table would say the response was very different. The atmosphere was very, very, very hostile. And I must commend the Tobagonians for the respect that they have here. And it's a little hurtful to me to kind of hear them 3 minutes run, 3 minutes, because they don't even have a line. And I remember the kind of disrespect that the opposition had in the first one, and we are seeing a different behavior here today. And you should give yourself a round of applause for that, Tobago. So I think that we should allow persons the opportunity to vent because people are dissatisfied. And, oh gosh. But as I said, service goes beyond how many outages, how much time current gone in the community. Service is a lot bigger than that. The kind of commercial policies, the commercial practices they have, the kind of response. If you make a complaint, is it resolved? All that is service. I don't want to waste my first 3 minutes. I'll be back here plenty tonight. Right? So you go see me plenty. But I want to ask a question, because I'm going to comply with what all they say for 3 minutes, you know. I want to ask a question. I'm so confused about, I keep hearing this saying T&TEC owing NGC. But I want to find out something. Is T&TEC responsible for producing electricity or distributing electricity? Isn't PowerGen responsible for producing electricity? I know T&TEC is the main shareholder, 51% in PowerGen when it comes to ownership. But I keep hearing T&TEC owing NGC. Is T&TEC owing NGC or PowerGen owing? I need that clarity so I could be able to expatiate later on. So, 2 minutes? I have 1 more minute. So, please clarify that to me. I hear the Minister of Finance saying that. I hear we saying that. That's what you're telling us, remember? We don't know the financial arrangements between T&TEC and PowerGen. And that is why people have an issue with rates going and raised. Because nobody being transparent about anything. I heard the Prime Minister say, well, if we don't raise the rates, if T&TEC decide to cut the current, nobody will have. But the thing is, we need transparency to know what caused them to end up in the problem in the first place. Because even if you raise the rates and it was a management problem, we will be in the same problem again. So please answer me. Because from my knowledge and from what I've read here, T&TEC is the sole retailer and responsible for distribution. I know PowerGen and 2 other independent power producers are responsible for producing electricity. So how T&TEC owing NGC?
Let me ask Mr. Husband.
Next 3 minutes.
Let me ask Mr. Husband to speak about how electricity moves from being generated to the providing it in somebody's home. So he will go from, no, you were asking what T&TEC is responsible for. He would be able to tell you the different arms of the value chain, yes? So, yes, he will.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. T&TEC gets power from what we call IPPs, independent power producers. And it's done through what we call PPAs, which are power purchase agreements. Now, the present power purchase, what is unique about Tobago too is that T&TEC owns the generation in Tobago. Right? Now, yes, it's unique in that case, right, that they own the power plants in Tobago. Whereas the power plants in Trinidad, which is PowerGen, TGU, and Trinity Power, are independent power producers selling T&TEC power through a power purchase agreement. Now, this power purchase agreement is considered a toll-through arrangement where T&TEC provides the IPP with energy, with gas, so that T&TEC purchases the gas from NGC and gives it to the IPPs, who use that gas to convert to electrical energy. Now, there are clauses in the power purchase agreements to ensure that these IPPs does not waste that gas, so that there are performance clauses to ensure that you are not inefficient in converting. So basically what the IPPs are doing is converting chemical energy into electrical energy. We give you gas, convert it into electrical energy. So that is the reason why T&TEC pays NGC bills. Yeah. Yes. Yes. It just happened that that is the model of the power purchase agreement. There are many different types of models that could be, negotiated. That can be changed, yeah. But most of the agreements cover a 15 to 20-year period, and maybe when that time comes for renegotiation, different approaches can be taken. But that is the present condition. Yeah.
Because even when T&TEC pays for the gas to PowerGen and the independent power producers, T&TEC still has to pay for the power that they generate.
Yeah.
They didn't say that. So basically, what you're saying is that I have to buy the ingredients to make the bread and still like bread.
Yeah, well, as I said, there are different models. Yeah, well, there is a cost. I said, yeah.
I think Ms. Callender would like to address your concern or question. The microphone on the table. The microphone on the table isn't on.
Oh, it's on now, thanks. You know, I heard a similar analogy over the weekend where there was an example given of a shirt factory and so on. And the fact of the matter is that we use seamstresses and tailors in Trinidad and Tobago, and sometimes you purchase your fabric, you take it to your seamstress or your tailor to convert it from raw fabric into a garment that you can wear. And when you do that, you do have to pay the seamstress or the tailor. And so this is similar. What T&TEC provides is the chemical energy. It is converted into electrical energy, which they are going to distribute, which is why they also have to pay after it's converted to electricity. If you think about what happens when you interact with a tailor or a seamstress, it is actually, that was a perfect analogy, and it's an identical situation.
Thank you very much, Chairman. And in the spirit of consultation and acknowledging your concerns, we're now going to extend the time to 5 minutes if you have to complete your question. So we're going to ask the gentleman at the microphone. So you have 5 minutes to complete your question.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Well, I didn't think I need 5 minutes. All right. My name is Darren Joseph. Not from this area, actually. I jumped the gun, Miss Chair. I am from up on the next side, north side. All right. Due to that, I would like to just find out, explain to us really and truly what really happens to all. I hear some lovely information, so I got to be more prepared when you come up by me, right? And I hear real good comments. So I want to really know what really does happen with all these comments, these various comments from all these beautiful groups and all these magnificent minds of people. What does really happen with all this information?
So we have our staff in the room here recording. You looking for them? Yeah. Recording everything that has been said. Okay? So when we go back to the office, we review all the suggestions, and well, you're not the only people that will send suggestions. There are people who are going to send written suggestions as well, right? And you are free to do so also, if you wish. So we look at all of those things, and if we have to respond to anything because we got a written proposal, we respond in writing. But we use all of the suggestions and comments to determine whether we should change our position in the final determination. Okay. Yeah, and if there are those that don't concern us, but they concern the Ministry of Public Utilities or T&TEC, we pass them on to those entities for them to take care of those issues. Okay?
Go ahead, sir.
Not only
Hold on.
Not only would we pass them on, we have already secured a commitment from them that they would provide their responses by the middle of March so that those questions can be resolved, and those can also influence the final decision.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, good afternoon. Colin Martin from the Scarborough area. I want to start off by just making a comment. Now, I just say real stupid things, right? So what I say might sound stupid. They say I'm not going to say what I song might say stupid. All right. First of all, I find it strange, right, in this country recently that we are having to pay for what we own, right? Flour mills, we have to pay extra. Petrotrin gone. Everything going up, and it's things that we own in this country. So that is like my introduction. Question to the panel. Who are you? Who are you? Seriously, the panel, I'm asking, who are you? Are you all T&TEC or you all an independent body? I came late.
Oh, okay. We are the Regulated Industries Commission. This is the chairman of the Regulated Industries Commission. Am I right? Mrs. Dawn Calendar.
Right.
I'm the executive director.
Right.
And on my left, we have an energy consultant.
Okay. I lived in Trinidad and I lived in Tobago. This is the first time I am in a forum like this. So I don't know if all you're doing this, and I live in, you know, like a MP say, nobody lives there, right? So I don't know if all you came up in the area where nobody lives, right? So, okay, you all are independent to T&TEC. My question is, you all are here doing a consultancy concerning the increase in rates and probably what other issues people might have with T&TEC. How does that affect you all? All the salary that big that it affecting all you? Because I mean, we here, we sitting down on these chairs, all you up there, all you probably have all your water sandwiches waiting for PED and PZ and all kind of thing outside, right? But I'm not hearing you all complaining about the rates increase that T&TEC is looking to put on people. Is it going to be affecting you all, or you all are getting all the private discounts? You understand? Because why are you here? My question is, why are you here trying to get feedback from us to take back to T&TEC when it will affect all you? Now, I am a disgruntled citizen, right? Because I am 65 years of age. And at 65, my senior citizenship is taken away from me because I have to pay $25 now to go on the board. Everything that I have paid tax for up until this time, it has been taken over. It's like the rug being pulled under my foot. They take it from
me too, so I'm just telling you. They take that
but
from me
then
too.
you're supposed to be sitting down here with us and fighting on behalf of us, not saying that you're going to take our questions. Your staff is here to take the questions, tabulate it, and send it. All is supposed to be getting a placard, march, standing up in front of T&TEC and telling everybody in Trinidad and Tobago, let us go to war against T&TEC with the price increase. How is it affecting the ministers? How is it affecting the opposition? You understand? When all they leave here and all they sit down, all they turn on all the air condition, first of all they came with a specified time, 5 to 7. We go keep them in grades. This is what I say. Now I tell you that's stupid. We go keep them here, you understand? Let them see what they have to say. We go look good. You go explain however we get the power. All right, that done. Let me go up to Bell Garden tomorrow, end the story, end the text. Zoom plane. Well, they're sitting on that boat for 3 hours. Right? How is it affecting you all? How is it affecting your children that are coming up behind you? Your grandchildren? Because if we get away, or if we allow T&TEC to get away with this nonsense now, it following, you know, it trickling down, you know. I grew up in this country, and I can't remember all of this consultation for price increase and rate increase and all that, you know. And the thing is, if you're like me, we on fixed incomes. So we have no overtime to work. We have no extra money to get. You understand? So at some point in time, we had to do like Scotland, Gary bike and coal pot, and start to light flamboyant candle, because if all you go back to T&TEC with our responses, but T&TEC decide to turn the back because all they say, look, let the jackass bray. You understand? Is everybody going to be affected? I want to know where you live in because I want to come and plug in my little internet because I wouldn't have it. Thanks to whatever it is, all you say, all you're doing here, because as far as I'm concerned, there's a fast. This are fast. This only just going through the process. So probably 2 months down the line, when the rates come up and OWTU and them decide to pull a strike out of T&TEC, they say, well, we did the job, you know. We did the job. The staff here still have to pay the same rates, even though they're taking notes. You understand? And the thing is, we're 5 minutes up. Serious?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. The thing is, we are being introduced to a lot of things where we need electricity, internet, right? Just now, according to Scotland, we might have electric coal pot and electric bicycles. cars now have to be plugged in. How that is affecting you all up there, all this sitting down there real high and mighty, but I are hearing all this saying, since I hear, that it's affecting all you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I mean, as I listen to, we all have families. So we might be working at the RIC, but our family is not working at the RIC, So that they have to have the same charges everybody else get. Our families, my sisters, I have 5 sisters, they have to pay it. But that is not our role. I know that you came here a little late, sir, so you didn't hear what I said up front, right? No, so I'm going to repeat it just for your information alone. So what we have to do as the regulator for T&TEC, and we are the regulator, we are not representing T&TEC.
Thank you very much.
No, he was distracted, so I was waiting on him. Yeah. So as the regulator for T&TEC, we have a responsibility, and we are undertaking our responsibilities. One of the things that we have to do is to ensure that T&TEC has funds and the ability to perform its functions. We also have to ensure that rates are affordable for consumers. I said earlier that 235,000 people have a monthly bill of less than $300. And upon that, they get a 35% discount. So that might include you, it might not include you. But the point is, 235,000 people are not paying what they should pay if they had no support from the government. The government is providing that support to citizens. Our role is not providing support, Our role is ensuring what we do according to the law. But when we cannot do something, the government is the agency that comes in and says, okay, we will provide support. And they provide 2 things. The 35% discount, and there's something called the Utilities Assistance Program. That is $1,200 per annum. So people who get public assistance and that type of thing, they can apply for that utility assistance and they get their bills paid. So there is support outside of what we're doing, but those levels of support comes directly from the government.
I just want to also add. Hello, yes. I just want to also add to the gentleman's concern there. Everybody in Trinidad and Tobago is subjected to the same rates. Whether you work at RIC, whether you work at T&TEC, whether you are members of the other groups that you called, we all have the same rates. And I think that's one of the strengths of the Act, that there's really no opportunity for discretion for persons in positions such as we are at the RIC to try to make a determination of where we're going to chinks a little bit here or where we're going to add something more. So our ED spoke about the fact that our family members and so on, but we are also going to have the same rate structure. So too are the persons who work wherever they are, T&TEC, NGC, whatever, okay? There's one other thing I wanted to say that you were saying that you've never heard about consultations before with respect to rates. And again, I would say that's another strength of the process, that persons sitting in a private room can simply increase rates or change rates and so on. It really requires what we call transparency and the process of engagement with the public. I know that people are afraid that this is just a farcical set of proceedings, but I again want to reiterate that we are here to listen to concerns and we are here to take away ideas. And so far, this is my 3rd session, and I actually have come away with 3 very solid ideas, which I will not reveal at this time, but I thank persons for attending and raising their concerns so that we can get to a final that's much more robust and much more reflective of what it should be. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'd also like to take this opportunity to remind everyone that we are live on YouTube and on Facebook, and I do want to recognize the persons who have tuned in online. And we do have a question to the panel from Ms. Sharon Guild, and she said, "Good day, I have listened to your contribution. I'm 63 years old and living on a monthly pension. How will I know what percentage of the proposed increase I will receive?" So, Mr. Can we just advise her how she would know based on her consumption?
Well, it has to do with your consumption. You know, if we know what your consumption is, we can give you an estimate of what your proposed bill will be. So if you can follow up on your earlier question with some information on your level of consumption or your monthly bill, the quantum, we can provide some information for you.
I'd also like to add for the persons in the room, based on Ms. Gill's question, that we do have a calculator at the back of the room. So if you do have your bill, you can also see based on your consumption, based on the proposed rates, what your bill could possibly look like. So you'll have an idea of the quantum that we're looking at.
Even if you don't have your bill and you know how much you pay every 2 months,
yes,
you can give that information to the people at the back and they will tell you what your proposed bill would look like.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Hi, pleasant evening, everyone. I am Che Gordon. I live more central Tobago. Right? My question is to the organization. What will you all consider to be a successful consultation? Now, I know that you all said you all have been I know you all said you all have been having consultations over a period of time and it would continue. But at the end of these consultations, what is the successful rate that you all have? As to say, well, you all had this amount of consultation with the wide range of Trinidad and Tobago, and this is the percentage of persons that said X, Y, and Z, and we come in to now tell the public that based on these consultations, we took information from these people, and so I'd like to know, like, what your success?
Well, the success, I think we could judge the success by whether you are able to convince us with your arguments that we should change our mind. That will be one way. Another way is simply by the fact that many of you turned up to listen to us and to get whether you are able to put forward arguments that could cause us to look at the proposals that we have and change our position. But we presented it. We presented the position. So we are here to talk with you, and if you provide compelling arguments that cause us to change our position, that would be one way of looking at success. But another way is by the number of people that have come out and they're able to understand the process that we went through, because part of what we're doing is trying to get you to understand how we come up with these prices. When you understand that fully, then you might accept it more easily. So one of the things that we're doing here is trying to help you to understand what we did so that you can accept that it makes sense the way we have gone.
Now remember that the consultations are also an opportunity to provide input, information, recommendations on areas that we may not have considered. We accept that although we feel we've done a very thorough job, we may not have considered every particular situation. And as I told you, coming out to these consultations, I have a private list of 3 areas that I would like us to go into again and do some further evaluation. So 3 out of 3, I don't think we are doing too badly there.
Is that just one other question. So, seeing that you all came to consult with us, right? Us as the public, what is our role as to keep you all in check with what you all said you all come out to do, which is consult? How are we to be responsible for what you all indicated at the end of all the consultations?
So at the end of the, you remember I said that it is not only physical things like this, but people also write. But at the end of the process, we put out a document, and in that document you will see a list of all the people who made contributions and what they said. We produce a document that has that information in it. So at least you will know that we didn't just dismiss anything. We produce this document where comments made in Tobago.
This document would be
It will be on our
public.
website.
Okay.
So you could see it there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Isn't it that we will produce the questions that were asked and our responses to the questions? Yeah, so it's not just what we heard, but we would evaluate them, as I said, and we would put our positions on those issues, make it public.
Thank you. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Marie Waldron for the Compoint area. I was just asking, the CAPEX projects, those were taken out of the RIC designation. So is this the reason for this is to modernize service? What is the reason for taking out the CAPEX projects?
Taking them out, you say? Taking them out?
Yeah.
What we cut off?
Yeah.
Okay. No, well, what we cut off is, there's a term that we use that we say what are considered to be prudent projects, right? And whether these will add value to customers. When we're evaluating capital projects, we look to see whether whatever they say they're going to do is going to improve services to customers and whether we think that they're useful and prudent. I can't hear you.
So again?
Oh, how we determine what is, yeah. Well, okay, so T&TEC has several distribution areas, right? Some of the projects, for instance, if a project came from south and had one value and one came from north, and it's the same type of project, but there are two different values, we would try to understand why is it that these costs vary, right? If T&TEC says it wants to put up something in an area where nobody lives, we might say that is not necessary. Who is that going to serve? So it is based on those types of things that we look at to find out what is this project really going to add value to anyone. Now I want to tell you that I said earlier that most of the funds that we left in for reliability improvements is for T&TEC to improve its distribution system, which is how you get served, through distribution. So we are trying to, they're going to put in some substations, things like that, that will make your service better. So those are the things that we considered to see how these are going to impact on customers. And once we felt that they will add value, we were able to say, okay, we are going to allow these. The ones that we were not sure about, where T&TEC didn't provide enough information to us to convince us that this should be done, we excluded those. So it has to do with the information we receive and whether we thought that we had enough information to analyze it or whether we thought it was going to add value generally.
The other thing I would add is that sometimes, there are interesting projects. They may not be essential to reliability and service. They may be opportunistic in that, T&TEC would like to utilize some modern technologies. In cases like that, because our concern was getting the best rate and getting the rates most affordable, if we took out some of the projects, we knew that we could get to a better price. So using engineers in RIC, going back to T&TEC to clarify and so on, there were projects that we challenged. There were projects that we said, can't you not hold on to the technology that you're using right now so we don't have to put $1 million or $3 million or whatever the case was. We don't have to put those in the rates. So that's the kind of determination that we make. The projects that have been left in are meant to really reflect what we call efficient costs to deliver reliability and to deliver good service. where they seemed a little bit marginal or where we think maybe you can hold on to our next period, we ask T&TEC to do that.
Yeah, let me just follow up on that because a specific example just came to mind. T&TEC proposed changing a lot of all the meters. You remember I said earlier that we changed the meter period from 5 years to 4 years? So we told them not to change all these meters immediately. So that is one of the costs that we deferred to ensure that the prices don't go up too high. So those are the kinds of things that we do.
Okay. Hold on, sir. We have a roving speaker. Go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead.
Nothing yet.
Hi, good night. A pleasant good night to the head table. The question I have is with respect to the slideshow, can you expand upon the objectives of the consultation using examples?
You want to a specific one?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
No, could you give an example? What the objective of the consultation is? Could you give us an example, please?
Just put it back up on the board. Yeah, so one of the things we said, if you heard anything that we said and you don't understand, we are going to clarify it for you. That's one of the objectives. Is there something that you would like us to clarify?
Not specifically. I just wanted to know the examples because the slide was going by so fast.
Okay,
that,
okay.
Yes.
So that's one of the things.
Yes.
The other thing that we said is that we want to hear from you anything that you have a suggestion that might be useful for us. The chairman said that it is possible that we didn't consider everything and you might think about something that we didn't even consider. We also want to hear that if you have such a suggestion. So it's things like those.
To obtain feedback.
Yeah, so we want to obtain feedback from you about the entire proposal to hear what you think about our proposals. And any, like I said, any issues and concerns which you might have that we didn't consider at all. Those are the general objectives.
But I just want to repeat again that from coming to the consultations, there are at least 3 aspects that I have taken note of already that, we'll have to look at again. So that will fall under the ambit of recognized concerns and other issues considered by the public to be relevant, but we have not included that in the draft that we have circulated. Okay?
Okay, so we also have a question from a Tobago resident who's viewing online. AJ, Allen, said since T&TEC is producing its own power in Tobago, should Tobago rates be less?
Well, we have something in the Act that says there should be non-discrimination in customers similarly placed, which means if you're a residential customer, you should pay the same rate. If you're a commercial customer, and if you're industrial, so we can't discriminate in that sense to customers.
And I would also say, I hope, as just in terms of efficiency, that there would be some services that T&TEC would not be duplicating and providing in Tobago as well. So there should be some level of cost that are spread across Trinidad and Tobago. Certainly things like, designing systems and so on, what obtains for Trinidad may obtain for Tobago. So you really just want to do that from a central area rather than having costs duplicated, which in effect could turn out to be more expensive than if you just use a central planning unit and you use, you spread that cost throughout more of the service that you provide.
Thank you. Before we move on to the next question, do you have a next question? Please go ahead.
Night to the panel. I am Dolly Charles. I'm a resident of Tobago West. My question is, beside the new outage requirement of 3 per month, what are some of the other obligations the RIC will put on T&TEC to ensure we get value for money?
You remember I mentioned the quality of service standards, right? So let me just give you an idea what some of those are. So, in respect of your bill, if you are a first-time customer, you must get your bill within 60 days. If you don't get it within 60 days, you will get a rebate of $60. You didn't hear me? If they cut off your supply and then you pay, they have to restore you within 24 hours. If that does not happen, then you get a rebate. If they make an appointment with you and they don't keep it, you get a rebate. If you have a voltage complaint and they don't respond to you within 24 hours, again, if they don't rectify the situation within 15 working days, you're entitled to compensation. If you have a billing complaint and they don't respond to you within 15 working days, again, if you want a new supply, the service drop-on meter must be installed within 3 working days. If that doesn't happen, so those are the kinds of things that we have.
That's it? That's it? Thank you. So before we go on, we want to give everyone a chance in the room to have a say. And we know you spoke already. So if you could give the next 2 speakers behind you the opportunity, we'll get back to you, okay?
What about the time? Because they said 5 to 7.
You will be able to talk again. Okay, just give the 2 new speakers.
We are not going to shut off before you make your point, sir.
All right, so don't worry.
Pleasant good night. My name is Anthony Baines. I live in Lower Tobago. Hearing? Yes, my name is Anthony Baines. I live in Lowlands, Tobago. Fortunately, I have heard of the RIC. I've been following you all on social media, so I get a gist of what it is you're trying to bring to the fore here. I just have something to say to the public that a lot of these things, these problems can be alleviated by just asking a question or reading. A lot of us, we know we have the complaints, we know we have our concerns, but without getting the information, we won't know. So just like the gentleman who works at T&TEC, we wouldn't know certain things that would happen in there unless he came and informed us. So unless we inform ourselves, then we can't have an issue with a regulatory body which is not the institution. The RIC is not T&TEC. The RIC is there to regulate, to let us know. So my question is, what compelling arguments did you have affecting the draft consultation?
Can you repeat?
What compelling arguments with examples did you have that affected the draft consultation? Issues affecting the draft consultation.
Draft determination?
Determination, yes, sir.
From whom?
From whether it's the public or from T&TEC.
Oh no, well, the draft determination was done internally in the RIC. This is the point where we are now reaching out to hear people's views.
Okay.
Okay,
right.
Maybe I can give an example of what may be a compelling argument, you said, from the public or from T&TEC. And somebody just asked recently about the CAPEX, and we said, well, we think we've shaved the CAPEX because we're very concerned about the cost that has to pass through and the price and so on. Perhaps that is an area where T&TEC may come back to us and give us an example of the history of the equipment that they are operating now and demonstrate to us that, yes, this is sounding higher with respect to buying something new but it's going to save us a lot more in maintenance and some other kind of operating costs. So in cases like that, where we look at the trade-off of getting something new which would work much more efficiently, and where they are now able to demonstrate here is a reduction in the operations and maintenance costs. So we may add some capex, we'll take off some other costs. Those will be the kind of arguments that we say, okay, we can put back in this piece of equipment. It's going to create and it's going to result in better service to the consumers as a whole, and it doesn't really move the cost footprint too much. We were very, very concerned about the cost footprint, and that is why we went through, you can almost say it was a fine-tooth comb, and just challenged a lot of the costs that came in there, and we tried to make sure that we reduced it.
Okay.
So that would be an example of which would be a very compelling argument.
Okay, one more concern. As the consultations continue, I think the public would like to know as well, as the consultations continue, will there be updated reports on the site, or do we have to wait until the consultations are completed before we are updated on different things?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean exactly, because you remember what we are doing. We are analyzing all of the information and responses we get to inform the final determination, which is something that would be produced and published by mid-April.
Okay.
So we're not going to have, so that's when the final would come out, by mid-April.
So that's the time frame that we have to work with.
Yeah, so we all know we are talking to you, and we are absorbing everything, we're recording it, then we are going to analyze to inform what we do in the final determination.
All right, thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank you,
so
sir.
Essentially what you just said, maybe no interim reports would be produced to the public. However, where we have taken notes for stakeholders and where we have provided questions for them, we've given them a deadline of around the 10th of March so that whatever they have responded with could be considered and we can reflect it in the final determination. Yes, sir.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. Good evening, distinguished members of the head table. Madam Chair, my name is Reginald Vidal. I am chairman of the Dr. Eric Williams Memorial Committee, living in Tobago at present, and following your consultations as you have gone so far. Mr. Chairman, or Madam Chair, I am not an electrical engineer. I turn on a switch and I turn it off and I get electricity. I talk to you all at the head table not as Martians, people from out of space, who are trying to impose something on a people. I talk to you as fellow Trinbagonians, and I am of the firm view and assurance that in the best or better interests of the citizenry of this nation of ours, that whatever is done or is planned to be done, I feel assured that it is going to be in the best interests of our country going forward. 62 years of independence, and of course, I have been representing the legacy and the memory of our father of the nation, who always felt that whatever was done in this country should be done with senior citizens more so in mind. Now, I have been, fortunately or unfortunately, I have been trying to avoid very much being referred to as a senior citizen. But run as I may, it is confronting me. And I would like to entrust into your distinguished body, the RIC, the responsibility of ensuring that whatever is recommended to us would be done with reason, would be done with concern, and would be done in the best interests of our country. Now, I know that people have been experiencing several problems. Whenever it comes
I think it comes to all. Whenever there's a nationwide blackout, it comes to all. If those who have generators are able to function it, to have it put on, well, okay, so be it. But by and large, whatever happens in my country, it affects all. And I do not see your body as one coming to impose any strong measures on the people of this country. I would be very disappointed. I think that what you all are doing, I leave it to you all to do it in a decent way, a responsible way, and a way that our people, the senior people that sit at the back here, can enjoy it, and that you would recommend and put things in place that they would not, as a consequence of what is to be, suffer as a result of. So I am happy that you all are here to explain, but on the other hand, I want you to remember those less fortunate, those who must not have to feel in any unusual or unwarranted way any proposed increase in rates. Remember, all of us, we are building a nation together, and we must remember those in the rural areas. And let us ensure that they can be electrified to give their children the kind of education, the improvement that we want to see. And this is my very short contribution to your deliberations here this evening. And as you continue on your journey to bring what we would expect that you would bring to us all, I want to thank you all so much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reginald.
Amount of
You made two interesting points that I want to ask our power engineer expert to speak about. You mentioned national blackout, nationwide blackouts, I think is what you described it as. In fact, those are not frequent occurrences in Trinidad and Tobago, although we had an island-wide event in March last year. But maybe he can speak to what happens when that unusual situation happens, and just to give some assurances of what may have led to them, and also to give you other assurances about changes that may have been made to the system following those events. Mr. Husbands, if you can.
Well, national blackouts, I think one occurred last year. The last time that happened was in 2015, and there was one last year in 2022. And it usually occurs when there's an issue on the grid that causes your generation systems to trip off the grid. You know that it results in a cascading effect where the power plants, because you may have lost generation in one plant, the supply, the demand becomes greater than the supply, and therefore, you know, your frequency falls and you lose the plant, the total plant. Right? It is not something that is normal and that should occur, but there have been instances when this happened worldwide also. And T&TEC will do a proper analysis of what may have transpired, whether it may have been caused by generation issues at the IPP, at the independent power producers, or whether it was created by an event on the grid. So that it is not something that is very prevalent and that will happen, you know, frequently. I understand there was also a total shutdown in Tobago sometime. Yeah. And, I'm not aware of the technical reasons, but that is something that we can always get back to you on as to the cause of that total shutdown. Yeah. But the system is so designed that that should not happen. Yeah.
All right, thank you. We take the next question, please.
One thing that Mr. Vidal said, you spoke about us considering seniors like yourself. So we just want to make the point, you might or might not be a member of TAP, but we engaged with TAP as the first consultation, and we heard the concerns of the TAP members. So we are not, we are interested in hearing from seniors and what issues they want us to consider. So I just want to assure you that we have done that.
Yes, second time at the mic. Because I have to come back. They limit my time at first. Okay. So, I want to mention, I'm not giving the correct amount, but if I am getting from national insurance and my retirement pension $10,000, let me say $10,000. I checked out the bill a while ago. I'm paying $2,500. They said I have to pay $2,000 a month. Right. Then I have TSTT bill to pay. I have Digicel to pay, and I have Flow to pay. All of that. I'm telling you, and I have a water bill to pay. So when you check on that, you know what's going on there. I haven't got any, I'm coming back now to the poor people. After I paid all the money, why should the electricity bill be monthly? Why should you change it monthly? It's a strain on us. We should pay the bill every 2 months, and you should recommend to the government that we pay that bill every 2 months. Because, have you ever answered this question? Have you ever cut one of the government buildings that owe millions of dollars? Have you ever cut it?
That's not our responsibility.
All right, as T&TEC, have you ever cut that bill that owe how much million dollars? They have never cut it. And the big hotels, and listen to me, all you have to be careful. Be careful. The price of increase and extension of bills always fall back on the poor man. Always fall back on the poor man. You have to take that into consideration. We cannot carry this burden alone. You all have to consider the percentage that you are raising the bill at. It is too much. I was amazed when I went to check the bill. 2005, and I am going to pay $2,000 a month. That is $4,000. You understand me? That is not right. And let me run the next questions and then.
Yes. Okay.
What should we do about this monthly bill? That is one. There should be government raise of people's pay. That I talked about that already. 2013, we in 2023. Raise people pay, you raise the price. Raise people pay, you raise the price. Right. Would you what? Anyhow, I can't even understand what I write here. I can't understand what I write here. So listen to me. The price for the bill, let it be bi-monthly, please. It cannot be monthly. That is what I interested. And when people get a raise of pay, all you could put on this new price. I want everybody to know that we are not having no raise of pay, no price increase. Put that down. I want to say it, comment. when you all send out back your business and all, and I want to read it there, you know, that I contribute from Bonaccord Village Council, no raise of price until the government raise our pay. Right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, this is Mrs. George Percy.
Yes.
Mrs. George Percy, you know, we are aware that there are persons who have a very high bill at this time. Actually, those are persons who would be consuming about 7,000 kilowatt hours on the bi-monthly bill. That's where your bill would be about $2,500 per month. And that actually falls in a very high category. What we did when we did the design of the tariffs is that we've done it in a way that the lower tiers are cheaper. And we are hopeful that persons who consume high amounts of electricity would be able to use the new wider bands. So we've made the bands wider now. Previously, you would only consume 1,000 kilowatts hour per cycle, and you would be in the highest tier. We've now increased that by 400 kilowatt hours, and we are hoping that persons will be incentivized not to go into the highest band and take on that kind of price increase. So there's the efficiency corner that I would encourage you to take a look at. The efficiency corner. You have 400 more kilowatt hours now, and if you can change your consumption pattern, that's some of what we are encouraging people to do, because as I've said before, we're looking at things like global warming, how we can each make a small contribution. And if we consume a bit less, that will assist us with that in that regard. All right?
Yes, right. I am one that is for the rate increase. But I would like to suggest that you do it in 3 years' time. And when I say in 3 years' time, you're coming with a monthly bill, that should start this year at the old rate, the monthly bill. If it's from June moving forward, at the old rate. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, you said that the light bill will raise for domestic customers between 15 and 60% or 64%? 64, right. So here what I would like to suggest. Next year, first year, 5 to 20%. 2025, another 5 to 20%. And 2026, the final tier, another 5 to the 24%. I think that we will be able to afford that in that way, instead of just giving us the 15 to 64% at one time, at the monthly bill, right? You all should mandate T&TEC to collect outstanding money from the government and THA offices, because there is where the downfall is, why T&TEC is broke. And I remember between 2015 2016, Mr. Ramsuk came to Tobago and said that they applied to the RIC for a rate increase, and they turned him down because the customer service is poor. So even though the customer service was poor back then, I am holding you all responsible for not giving T&TEC a rate increase, so that we will not have to face it this time where everything is going up. The inflation rate is what? Something like 6.2? The government is offering 4%. So you're starting at a minus 2.2%. Where that leaves us. Let T&TEC educate its customers. Before I retired, I was having town meetings. I initiated that and educate the customers. Because women, no offense, women love to iron every morning. Majority of them. And ironing every day is something that's increasable. Having water heaters and you have a slight leak, that thermostat is not cutting off to bring, when you reach a certain temperature, it will continue flowing. So they have to educate the customers. Customers spoke about, and what I have experienced, that when the appliance is damaged, T&TEC is not compensating them. How many persons read the inspection certificate? And when I used to coordinate tongue meetings, I work with a copy of the inspection certificate to show customers that at the bottom of the inspection certificate says, you should, not must say, you should re-inspect after 5 years, because there's a tendency for your resistance to drop. And if there's a surge on the system, it looks for the weakest point. And the weakest point, if your ground is not solid, it will damage your appliances. And of course, T&TEC would not compensate. How many customers know that? So this is one of the things, Madam Chair, I am strongly suggesting this evening for you all to mandate T&TEC to have talk meetings with the customers, educate the customers. And that is an improvement for customer service. Okay? So another thing is T&TEC should have direct lines. It is a utility where it is serious, where it's life and death. If you have a line burst and the breaker does not trip or blows the section fuse to take off the electricity and that line is dancing on the ground, someone can be electrocuted. You don't want to sit down and hear computer coming on. You want to talk to someone direct. There is a burst HT in Central Street, Canaan. That is it. So that is something you all have to change, mandate T&TEC to change. Another thing is that when a customer makes an appointment and the customer is not at home, T&TEC should leave a notice. I do not know if that is still in place, because that is something I initiated when I was there. As a matter of fact, they used to call me Mr. T&TEC. Right? I do not know people know me because of the service I gave to customers in Tobago. So I think that is the inspection certificate mandate T&TEC for the tongue meetings. Right. So that is me there. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for all the very good suggestions. I can assure you that we have told T&TEC that they should come out and do some of the town hall meetings and the education sessions that you have suggested and recommended. I am sure that as we get further into the consultation, they would come out because, we have different suggestions in different locations. So it would be good for them to kind of gather them up instead of just coming out on an ad hoc basis to do individual ones, right? So they should be following. We've already spoken to them. We are going to write to them and give them some of the ideas that you've put forward and other ideas that we've heard before. So that should happen. The other item I want to speak on, because I've heard it a couple of times this evening, the item on the outstanding amounts to state agencies. I can assure everyone that that has not made its way into the rate computation. When we spoke earlier, we spoke about something that we call efficient costs. And we are not making a judgment on that, safe to say it would not be efficient to ask any customers in this new rate period to pick up those amounts. So, as it is, that may be something that T&TEC has to find a way to address, but it's not going to be addressed by our consumers in this rate review period. Okay? Thanks.
Yeah, before you start, so you made these suggestions about when the rate should change, okay? Yes. So I want to tell you that the prices that are set for 2023 are to recover the cost that T&TEC is expected to incur in 2023. So if they don't collect those rates in 2023, they won't be able to provide you with the services that you want to get in 2023. Because the money that they get will be short of what is needed to provide those services.
Sir, with all due respect, there is way to collect the money from THA and the government to collect that money, do millions of dollars, and leave us at the old rate for 2023, but bring in a monthly bill every month, right? That is a stepping stone now to move forward to 2024 with the 5 to 20% with the new rate at the monthly.
But what I'm trying to tell you is, you are making a suggestion that they should collect that. We would like them to collect it as well. But what I'm saying is, the rates are not set to recover what they have already incurred. It's to cover what they are going to incur. So it's the new expenses, not the old ones. So you're not paying for something that happened already. You know. What we ask you to pay for is what is going to happen now.
Yes, sir, I hear you, but all I'm saying, THA and the government offices in Trinidad would have already used that electricity. Let them pay up now.
We can't. We have no power there.
No, well, give T&TEC the suggestion that is one of the suggestions that they put forward to make sure and collect those outstanding money.
So we have already spoken to T&TEC about the fact that they have to make those arrangements. These costs are not going to come into your bill. But I also hear your point of saying maybe think of another way of getting to where you want to go in a more graduated way. I hear that point. All right? I hear you, sir. Let me take the next gentleman here, please.
Yeah, good night again. I think the whole crux of the entire meeting I've heard for the entire consultation and the last consultation, good service. And you have to pay more so that they could supply us with good service. And as a customer, this really bothering me because I have been a good customer for T&TEC. I have for the last 10 years or so, I have my business out there. With all my properties and business amalgamated, nearly pay T&TEC 6 figures a year annually. And now you're suggesting to me an increase from 14 to 64% at that 6 figures. As a small businessman, you know how they're going to impact my business? You know how they're going to impact my employees? Some might have to go home. Because you are saying it lightly, and for the person who paying 300 and the person who paying 200, 14 to 64% is nothing. But 64% increase on 100,000 a year is something. And it's something major. And that is why I have an issue with service. At the end of the day, I have highlighted, and I have highlighted the last time, the issues I'm having with T&TEC beside outages and these things. We're talking about T&TEC coming onto your property, not acting in the way they're supposed to, based on the Act of Parliament, putting down works without serving notice. I brought example. I am example. The person I purchased this property in Tobago from is example. No notice served. And then T&TEC telling you to pay to move it. That's the commercial practice. Nobody reining them in, even though the law specifies that they must remove it if it is a nuisance. How you could not consider guy wires coming off the highway, crossing a bong, where a wall to secure the property to not be a nuisance. But if they just say it's not a nuisance, you have to take that, take them to court. So a customer who giving you nearly 6 figures by yearly, what kind of, how I would feel now that you come in to justify if you don't get T&TEC this, boy, T&TEC will be in problems. I in problems too. And that is the reality. And I have been a good customer. So what about us who've been good customers? We cannot only consider T&TEC circumstance. What about our circumstance? And that is why I have a problem. And yes, my brother, RIC is not the one to come out and blame me, but they are the regulatory body. It's them, is all we have to come to go to them. And in my humble view, T&TEC not intimidated by all here. My humble view. And that could never be fair. We're talking about service. Another commercial T&TEC is the design. We just talk about distributing. That is the main role and function. To retail, I'm a retailer too, a businessman. To retail electricity, make sure they distribute it. Put up the design, construct it. That is what they say. The design, construction, maintenance. But they have the capital contribution policy. We had to pay for the pole. And when we pay for the pole, it's them pole still. We had to pay for the transformer. And when we pay for the transformer, it's them own still. And yes, I know you're going to tell me about the augmented network, and then when new people come in, you're supposed to be reimbursed commensurately over years. But if your main modus operandi is distribution of current, you supposed to want to get in there and distribute it in every area. Always the excuse of it's uneconomical to go in a certain area. And if you tell me you're going in the forest to put current, I go believe so. But not in a housing development where you works 2 streets away. The first person landing had to pay. And then T&TEC sits by and wait until other people come for them to be reimbursed. How these things could be right? And if it's not an augmented network, when I say that, let me break it down. Other people not coming to use it, and you alone using the electricity. So the pole is for you, and the transformer is for you. You alone have to pay for it, and you have no reimbursement to get. It happened to a business partner of mine last week, where he was the sole contributant. Sole contributant, so it means he's not getting reimbursed. However, he decided to put a warehouse on the same property as well. They say, all right, you need a new pole that have the base so you can put a transformer. So the 3 years before, he bought the first pole. Then last week, he bought the new pole with the base and the transformer. You know when they take out the old pole, because they say it's them own, they take the old pole and go on with it. So a man like him now, who's made the investment with no reimbursement because he's a sole contributant, he would have now lost his investment of his pole when it went on the T&TEC truck. What is the justification for that? And these poles, I just identify the people, these poles are poles that they're renting every other telecommunications provider. Flow, Digicel, all they're renting them. So it means they're making benefit off of the pole itself that we pay for and waiting for it to pay us back. That could never be right. What kind of commercial policy? 30 seconds and I'm gone. I'm going back to Trinidad, don't worry. That could never be right. And I'm calling on the RIC to look into some of these commercial policies, because you are telling the customer to contribute to the capital expenditure in circumstances where I believe T&TEC should be able to facilitate. Right? If you're telling me about auto, you're going up in the forest, and you can't get lines up there and it's a difficult scenario, fine. But not when it's a place where you have your works 2 and 2 streets away.
Yeah.
1 and 2 streets away.
Mr. Fields, thank you for your contribution. I wonder if you will allow our executive director to provide some more details in terms of the areas that the RIC, our jurisdiction, so to speak, and T&TEC's jurisdiction. But we're getting to the stage where we've had a long contribution from you. We want to provide the response. There are 2 other persons in the line that we would also like to take.
Right. Let me say one last thing before I go. The suggestion I made to you about the power of entry in the section 37, where T&TEC from 40 years ago was given the power by Parliament to enter upon our land without consent and put their works. It is time for a review of that. T&TEC don't come to read no meter again. They could read it from anywhere it is. They could disconnect it from anywhere it is. So those things need to be amended. As I said the last time, people procuring police uniforms, going onto your property and harming your family. It's not hard to get a T&TEC uniform to come and do the same to us. Let us revisit some of those things, and I'm asking you all to make those suggestions. Thank you. God bless you.
On your last point, I want to say that we in the codes of practice I talked about earlier on, we have told T&TEC when people are going on other people's property to do works that they must properly identify themselves. So just putting on something T&TEC is not what we are suggesting to T&TEC when somebody is coming to work by you. They must properly identify themselves to the customer so that that person could be assured that it's a T&TEC worker coming or a representative of T&TEC coming to deal with them. That's the last point, right? Right. So on the issue of the capital contribution, now you said something, I think that you should understand what you said from the point of view of the other people. If you say that somebody alone is benefiting from a pole and a transformer, right? And if that person does not pay alone, but other people who are not benefiting from that service pay, isn't that disadvantaging them because they are paying for something they're not benefiting from? So you have to understand it from that point of view as well. You are saying that if you alone benefit from a transformer, that you alone shouldn't pay.
What do you mean? No, I didn't say that. I use the example saying that in the situation where the sole contributant, and that's why I use my friend as the example, that fine, I don't have a problem, nobody else using it, it's for me, because T&TEC is the one who does deem that nobody else will be there to use it.
Right.
So I take the full responsibility. My problem is with that, is that even though I pay for it, it is still T&TEC's own.
Right, so, okay, but the point is, after you paid, right?
Right.
Any repairs or maintenance of that asset is for T&TEC, not for you. So that is why they assume ownership of it. Because once you pay, you have nothing else to do with that, you know. Anything goes wrong, T&TEC fixes it.
No, but what's saying, apart from that, they're renting it. People.
Yeah, well, we don't regulate rentals of poles.
But I understand. Consider the example I told you. When they uprooted it and left with it after he invested in it.
But you remember I told you, after you paid,
and that is what I
it
find
becomes their asset because they are responsible for repairs, maintenance of that asset.
Repair, and it's all there are bees in there, it's be overgrown.
Well, all you have to do is to call them and ask them to take care of that.
I wouldn't if I only tell you.
No, on the other issue that you raised about the guy wire and so on, right? That really is a legal issue which we are not empowered to do anything about. You know, that really has to be settled in the way that you talk about by going to court, because the RSC has no jurisdiction in relation to those things.
And I understand that. That's why I made the suggestion that you can still make suggestion.
But we listen to you.
When it comes to reform of the...
No, we listen to you.
Right.
We're noting it. And we know we're going to pass that information on to T&TEC.
We certainly will.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening to the panel again. So, literally, it's clear to us that from what you have provided us this afternoon, considering the operation between yourself, T&TEC, IPP, independent owners, that the operation is still not feasible for you to operate in delivering service. And as a result of that, we, the end customers, are now being asked to pay a higher bill. Now, literally, let me just read here a very small snippet, because the ministry at one point in time indicated that Trinidad and Tobago, the aim is to reduce the emissions that goes up to the ozone layer. However, it says here, currently the Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission, Chapter 5470, and the Regulated Industries Commission, which is yourself, make no provision for renewable energy power generation in Trinidad and Tobago. This is just a small snippet. Maybe it is time to revisit that conversation, because if it's now contributing to us to say maybe if we cannot afford the T&TEC rates, we should now have the option to explore installing solar panel in our home. But then that's the next issue with the commission and T&TEC, because now they want we have to now go to them if we have to install solar power energy. So here is the double standard. T&TEC cannot provide the service at the rates that you are proposing. You are the commission who are saying to us that you are the regulatory body but you have no conversation here in your framework to provide an alternative measure. If I want to now say to myself, I want to cut the cost of my bill, T&TEC is too expensive and I can't afford it, that I should be able to have the power to go solar power. I think it's time for you all now, if you are asking us to pay a bill, provide us an alternative model. That's my solution.
Thank you, sir.
I want to tell you that,
Good night, good night.
You'll come in after, yeah? I want to tell you that you're talking about something which is in the area of government policy, not RAC. Government policy. Government has to have a policy in relation to solar power and customers, not the RAC. We work within government policy. So if that's the government policy, we work within that.
Sir, let me say to you, you are a regulatory body. Recommendation must come from you in order for us to achieve the goals that we want to. The United Nations is saying there are sustainable development goals that they want to achieve by 2030. We are nowhere near there. It's not making sense. And if you are saying to us tonight, you want to explore the option, I'm just saying, we are now providing you, this is consultation. We are saying, as the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, it is time for you, the Commission, to revisit and make the recommendation to the government now to explore the option for solar panels, renewable energy, if it is going to serve the purpose to keep the energy emissions down and allow us to save on our cost, it's time to revisit it. But that's a business, no, hold on. That's a business model you all will not want to visit at this point in time because the business model affects the amount of money that you are going to collect. And I'm saying literally, it's time for you to revisit that model.
Now, you might not know that the government has already signed contracts for 112 megawatts of solar power. That is supposed to come on in 2025. So it is not that they're not attending to this issue, you know. They have already signed those contracts with BP Lightsource to put down the infrastructure to provide 112 megawatts of solar. Okay?
I'm sure that the persons here this evening would be very happy to know that as the RIC, we are operating within the law that governs how we work, and irrespective of the urgency of the concerns, we really can't go outside of the law that would mandate the areas under which we operate. Can we take the next speaker, please?
Good night. Anson Clark from this committee.
Sure.
Right. The question I asked, what I like to find out, what is the purpose, purpose of this, of this consult. I will write down there. I come back to you. I have it written, but I've written it.
Sure.
The guy in the back.
Good evening again. Pete Gray, Crown Point. Yes, I have a suggestion for the panel and for everyone else who is present. From time to time, things do go up. We understand that. However, I think the main issue with everyone is the quality of service being received. Yeah? Now, if the RIC could put measures in place to ensure that going forward after a price raise, there is a particular quality being administered by T&TEC, and also if this can happen incrementally. So instead of raising the price all at once, can it be done over a period of time? And also, can you ensure that a particular quality of service is being administered by T&TEC? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Let me just tell you how quality of service standards are designed, right? We do two things. Internationally, there are some standards that all utilities use, okay? But also, we get complaints from customers who think that they had bad service from T&TEC. So we analyze those, and we come up with some standards in addition to the ones that international utilities use. So if people say we're having a problem with this, and it's pervasive, widespread, then we form a standard on that. But we also use the international regular standards. So that is what I was calling out earlier. those are the standards that we call guaranteed standards. But we have some called overall standards. Those are standards that don't affect individuals, but a group of people. So T&TEC has to meet overall standards. Those you don't get any compensation for. But they have to meet those as well. But the ones that affect individuals, those are the ones that you get compensation for.
I think once you take things apart, when you really listen to the conversation being had tonight, is the quality of service that persons are dissatisfied with. Persons don't mind paying for a particular product, but once that product matches the quality of service. So what we are saying here is that, yes, okay, we understand it cannot remain the same price forever. Yeah, so a lot of residents do expect to pay an increase. However, if we can be guaranteed a particular quality of service.
I just want to make the point to you on that specific thing, that the quality of service standards were first approved in 2004. They were reviewed, I think it was 2017, and they were reviewed last in 2021. So we review these things over time to make sure that the ones that are now enforced are relevant to customers' issues.
Yes, and enforcing is an important component as well. Enforcing is an important component as well.
The payments to 7 of them are automatic.
Yes.
You don't have to do anything. There's only one in which the payment is not automatic. I have it here. There's only one in which the payment is not automatic. So this is what I'm saying. We are enforcing those. And in fact, what we didn't do today, perhaps we should have done, is to have a video showing you all the standards so that you could appreciate what they are.
Yes.
You know? Because we have them.
All right, thanks.
This will be the last, the final question.
Yes, what I was going to ask, right? Please, can you break down with an explanation of the purpose? Please break down with an explanation of this consolidation, please.
So when you say the explanation, you want to know why we are doing it?
Yeah, the true purpose of this consolidation.
Okay, we said that earlier on, which is, I'm repeating it now. We want to clarify any issue upon which we have outlined in our draft determination. Any issue that you want clarification on, we are here to provide you with that. So if you read something that we said we are going to do and you don't understand, we're here to clarify it for you. We are here also to get your feedback on the proposals that we put forward for prices and rates. And we also are here to hear from you any suggestions that you might have about things which we didn't consider, but which you thought we should consider.
Thank you.
We have taken note of it.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to extend our sincere thank you for all of you for attending this evening's public consultation, and all, of course, your insightful questions and your great suggestions. As the members of the head table indicated, we did make a note of every single person's question and suggestion, and when we get back to the office, we'll be looking at them in an in-depth way. In the coming days, the RLC will continue its public consultation exercise. We will be in Bell Garden in Tobago East tomorrow, and we will be meeting with other members of the public. We are meeting members of the Tobago business community, the THA, trade union associations, special interest groups. And of course, if you cannot make it to one of our consultations, we are live on our Facebook page and on YouTube. Those of you who also did have an opportunity to ask your question here today, you can also send in your questions or comments to the RIC via email, and that email address is comments, COMMENTS, @ric.org.tt. So if you have a question that you've forgotten or may have just thought of on your way home, you can feel free to email us those questions. And I would like to thank you all again for being here, for being part of the regulatory decision-making process. And I do wish you an enjoyable evening and a safe trip home. We do have some refreshments at the back of the room. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello.